I'm live. Welcome back to Transaction Care. My name is Lillian Hernandez, and I just felt like going live. I'm in the middle of reorganizing a lot of my stuff for my business, including my websites. And I need to update my website, something I often dread because it's so meticulous, it's so nuanced, and it's so tedious. Much like that much like a day in life of a real estate transaction coordinator. As you see, I've been documenting my days as best as I can. I'm also trying to get all of my podcasts, the audios on here on YouTube so we can live here and wherever you stream the podcast. But ultimately, I felt like going live, whether anyone watches or not. It's good practice, and let's get to it. But pretty much just going to be updating my websites. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm willing to answer them. I want to bring back going live, not weekly, probably on a monthly basis in 2024. I think that's the best option for me. Honestly, I prefer going live because it's less editing for me. It's less time consuming. I think I just filmed my first vlog for this channel yesterday, and it took me way longer. I was just rusty. I'm out of practice. It took me way longer than I had anticipated, simply because I've been podcasting and just doing audio. And even though I'm on Zoom with people and I have my outline in front of me, but this time I just kept having to stop and look at my notes, and knowing that I was recording it just really delayed the process, and I was getting a little frustrated and impatient. But once I got into the groove of things again, I remembered how fun and how much I enjoy vlogging. And let me see, that vlog is going to drop on the 27th, but ultimately I'm talking about 8 benefits of working with a coach. And if you don't know, now you know. I also offer coaching services, one-on-one coaching. If you want to be a transaction coordinator, looking to pivot careers, increase your confidence, just talk things out in terms of your career, the direction you're going, and just life in general. Lifes. And just a little bit of what I talked about in the video is that through my own personal coaching journey with, hiring a coach, working with a coach, and not having any clue of what a coach actually does, it was the best financial and personal investment I've ever made for myself, for my business, and even for my personal life, because I was consistently working on not just my personal development, but my self-awareness. I was actively working on my self-awareness because we don't take enough time to learn ourselves. I think I've just realized that we don't take the time to ask ourselves questions. How do we feel? How am I processing things? How am I navigating what just happened? And then next thing you know, 10 other what just happens. Meaning, let's say a week goes by and Monday you were dealing with impatient realtors. Tuesday, closings were delayed and you were really counting on that money. Wednesday occurs and no one's responding to emails in a timely manner. Thursday, the electricity goes out on your block. Friday, still no closings. Everything that just happened and you didn't process it. And then you just go on with your weekend and then start all over again on Monday. I don't think we realize how much we internalize and store a lot of those feelings. I don't think we realize how much, when we're not expressing or emoting or feeling our feelings, it really does show up in other areas of our life. And, that's when we start projecting, start building resentment, anger, lashing out on people, making irrational decisions that we aren't even aware of. We become numb and, again, resentful. That word is key. But ultimately, I've learned to, the best way I can manage that and be mindful of those moments is through journaling, prayer, being still, making time to be still, whatever that looks like for you, but truly granting yourself grace as well as time and space to just sit in quiet, sit or walk, go for a walk, change your environment, simply because things get out of hand. And having a coach really helped me to navigate a lot. It's my ice machine. Having a coach really helped me to process a lot of the things I was going through, and even just being able to say things out loud was pivotal in my journey, because some things I was thinking would be a good idea, I'd say it out loud, we'd kind of break it up into a plan, and then by the end of it I realized, yeah, this is not a good idea. So having a coach has really helped me to pursue more of my personal goals. And that's really impacted my life and my journey. And even when times are really, really bad and times are really, really uncertain, especially this year, I feel like this year I've endured more stress maintaining this business. I've been on Indeed more this year, Indeed.com. I've been on that website more this year than I ever have in the last half a decade. And things got real. And I want to be transparent. Things got real where I was considering, don't get me wrong, even when I'm having a good time, I'm still considering, is self-employment really for me? I have those thoughts on a regular basis. And it's just the reality of things. And if you're self-employed, let me know what you're going through, because this year definitely was a test, to say the least. And I'm just grateful I did have access to coaching and resources like books and my podcast, being able to talk to other like-minded people in my field of work, and um, hearing their stories and their journeys just made me feel less alone and less isolated in this role, being self-employed, because you're just at home working, and I'm not complaining. Believe me, every day I wake up so grateful that I can do this, whether I'm making money that day, that week, that month or not. And financially, this has been a test for me this year, but that's what I feel like separates those that continue on in this life of being self-employed and don't. Um, but it isn't to shame anyone that does have a job, is self-employed, all the things, because believe me, I'm still checking those listings to see what's available. um, and that's the reality. Like I said, being self-employed requires a lot of work internally, physically, emotionally, not just the work that's in front of me of, I got to meet these deadlines. It's the work of, why do I get impatient when I'm doing this work, or why am I not happy here? Why am I experiencing um, so much conflict in this situation? Are you taking the time to answer those questions for yourself? Are you taking the time to sit and process what is happening in your life? Because we do store a lot of those emotions when we don't express them. And, communication is key in any field of work that you do or business that you run. Communication truly is the foundation and the key to success. Communication, which is following up, asking for help, expressing when you're not happy. It's that simple. And if I'm not communicating, whether it's with me just here one-on-one working with myself, or even coming on live communicating with my audience and checking in with you all and seeing how you are all doing and what can I offer to help you in your journey, not just for me as someone experienced, but someone that is willing to help and offer my insight. I've been working in the real estate industry since 2004, and I don't claim to know everything. I don't need to know everything today. I love being a student of the game. And to me, real estate has always just been the, I guess you can say, the vehicle towards what I'm truly meant to be doing or living, how I'm supposed to be living, where I'm supposed to be living, all those things. Hi, Violet. Let me read your thoughts. Let's see. I think it also requires lots of discipline, understanding that things take time and steps before you can see all the wins. Thank you. You got this. Yeah. Discipline is one of those words that just, and one of those words, themes, and actions that showed up a lot this year for me. I think I definitely lacked a lot of discipline in certain areas when it came to, even marketing myself. I feel like I did a lot less marketing, and I felt the impact of not marketing myself constantly. And I had to remind myself and learn and accept that I'm not just a TC, I'm not just a coach, I'm not just a student. I'm a business. I'm a business owner, and I must operate that way. And having discipline was something I was lacking, because when the money was flowing inconsistently, I got really comfortable. I got really, um, I just wasn't mindful and present with what was happening. And I wasn't thinking about 6 months from now, the holidays, a year from now, 2024. So I also wasn't thinking about, okay, if I'm disciplined now, I'll have less to worry about when things start to slow down, or when the market shifts, or when, um, even my clients decide to relocate. I just didn't consider those things because I got really comfortable in certain areas of my business. I also just completely embarked in a whole new, um, with coaching. I took a 6-month course this year to get certified. So that took a lot of energy and time. But in that, I realized I should have still been working actively on the business in order to maintain. But I needed to learn that. Because even in next year will be 6 years of being in business. I hadn't done something like that. So I had to really be disciplined in my actions in order to now navigate my future before it even happens. I can't control everything. Life is going to life. But ultimately, someone said to me earlier this year, is like, what are you waiting for? For me, I was like, well, I have to get certified before I could start coaching. And she was like, why? Why are you waiting? And at that point, I had already completed the 6-month course. So I was going through all of the emotions of, dang, did I just waste 6 months of my life, of my time, precious business time? And that was a mindset I didn't realize I had a blind spot to. So taking time to really ask yourself questions that you wouldn't normally ask. Like, if you follow me on social media, I'm currently posting, I guess you can call them journal prompts, but just questions you can ask yourself on a daily basis that normally someone wouldn't ask you. Because when you see someone, it's like, how are you doing? Oh, great. How's so-and-so doing? Awesome. It's very surface. And having these questions prompted to you allows you the space to explore parts of your brain, or your mind, your dreams, your visions, your goals that you may not have ever expressed to anyone, let alone yourself, out loud. And I've learned that having those questions and being disciplined with even asking those questions and answering those questions, for me, has helped me to navigate my journey better. Because when I am complacent and I am just letting things coast and be all good, which is fine. But at a certain point, you have to consider, how do I want to level up? What do I want to do next? Where do I want to go? Do I want to do less? Do I want to do more? So I had to learn that, basically, I just had to stop and ask myself questions. Because when I was doing coaching sessions with people, I noticed when I would ask certain questions like, oh, what are your values? when they would talk to me about running a TC business. They would say, I don't know. And if you ever sit with me one-on-one and do a training, for TCing or whatever it is, whatever direction you want to take in life with your career, or even, rebuilding your own personal confidence, self-confidence, I always start with those internal questions. And people come to me wanting the answers. Okay, what do I do to be a TC? Just give me a checklist and I'll go do it. And as someone that's been doing TC work and has been, in the real estate industry for 2 decades and self-employed for over half a decade, the only reason I've survived this long, whether the numbers were great or bad, is because of my mindset. It wasn't because of a checklist someone gave me. It wasn't because of a task I completed for a realtor, or it wasn't the number of transactions I closed in a month. It was, how did I embrace this journey? How did I get through it? How did I survive? Why am I doing this? I think any business person, entrepreneur, real estate professional, career advisor, coach would tell you, anytime you're going to do something new in your life, why do you want to do it? And the why is to provide that foundation. The why is there so you can reflect on that when you are having crappy days, when you are having those seasons where money's not flowing in as quickly. You have to remind yourself, okay, this is why I'm in it. Before you give up, you go back to your why and remember, I'm doing it because this is how I want my life to look. I'm doing it because I want to buy a home. I want to do it because I want location independence. I want financial freedom, whatever the case may be. I want to travel the world eventually. I want to retire in 10 years. And it took me a while to learn the lesson of thinking ahead. Let me see. Do you think there's an attraction from the younger generation for a job like TC's? Let me think about that for a second. Do you think there's an attraction from the younger generation for a job like a TC? To be honest, the demographic that I'm noticing for people that want to be TCs are seasoned realtors who at one point were killing the game, they were closing, and then now these last couple of years, I'd say the last 2 to 3 years, where the market really shifted, everything changed. A lot of those realtors are now coming into transaction coordination as if it's this plug and play job, as if it's like a front desk manager or admin. Like, okay, here, go make a couple copies, go make a couple calls, and we're done. And it's not that at all. I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions of being a TC. But when it comes to the younger generation, they're a lot more savvy. And when I say younger, I'm thinking like 21 to 30, early 30s, like 21 to 31, right? Like that 10-year space. But I think the idea of self-employment is attractive to them, but I think a lot of them are seeking being a realtor more than they are being a TC. But then again, the only demographic that I've seen wanting to be TCs right now are realtors. A lot of realtors want to, and they say, like, it's like, I don't know if they're like, if someone online is telling them like, oh, just go be a TC, just go be a TC, but they're not giving them any context of what the actual job is, I feel for them, because in a way I feel like they're being lied to, and I don't want to do that here on my channel, and a lot of realtors are like, oh, I have all this experience as a realtor, so I'm just going to go be a TC. It shouldn't be as stressful. Well, the reason the TC is there is to make the realtor's job that much easier. And what I think a lot of them fail to remember or realize is that you are managing a lot of paperwork and a lot of deadlines and a lot of people. Not to say realtors aren't, but when you take away that administrative part of the job, you have a much bigger capacity to do your actual job of being a salesperson, making the calls, going out, being out, going to open houses, visiting clients, taking Zoom calls. And that's a lot of just this, talking, negotiating, conversing. But when you're a TC, you're managing that file from top to bottom, beginning to end. You always have to have eyes on the file, not necessarily every day, but a big chunk of your life goes into that file for the next 30 to 60 days. If you're lucky, you can have closings in 5 to 7 days, but those are just as, if not more intense than anything you'll ever endure in the real estate world. So in terms of the younger generation, possibly, but I think that this generation, the younger generation, isn't about that paper life. I don't see many of them wanting to just sit at a computer all day, looking at documents. I feel like, and people can think what they want, but this life of a TC, to me, I feel like you need to have a lot of life experience before you actually can appreciate the role that it is. I think being a transaction coordinator requires life experience, because you'll realize, oh yeah, I don't ever want to go back to working for this type of person. I don't ever want to go back to this type of work environment. I'm just going to run my own business. I will be a TC. And again, the transaction coordination shouldn't be the only path that you take. I think we should all have the mindset of growth, meaning, okay, I want to be a TC and these are my goals for my first year. And then after that, in 2 years, I want to double my clientele, double my closings. And keep in mind, having a big roster doesn't equate to having a lot of listings and sales or closings. It really doesn't. So, I mean, I could go into all that in a separate video, but ultimately, I don't know. I feel like the role of a TC requires you to have a lot of life experience to really appreciate it. And for me, when I went independent and having had that life experience, I was, 6 years ago, I was in my early 30s when I went independent and to start running my own business. And it wasn't until I worked with a coach to help me sort out all of my big ideas. She kind of helped me navigate quitting real estate in general, and helped me pretty much articulate what it is I was feeling on the inside that I wasn't able to express, verbally. I was just angry, a few years ago, and when the market was shifting, I was ready to quit real estate entirely. But yeah, I think, TCing is for anyone if you're serious, but you have to be serious about it. You can't play any games. You're responsible for people's biggest purchase of their life. And I think that's like an unspoken oath that we should all take. I guess you kind of do when you get your real estate license, but not all TCs have their real estate license. I personally suggest to people to get their real estate license before they get into TCing, simply because you can have a better understanding of what occurs in the real estate industry. A lot of people don't even know that a first-time home buyer doesn't mean you buy a home once and then you're no longer a first-time home buyer. And this is basic knowledge. It's like after you've purchased your home, 3 years later, you are considered a first-time home buyer again. And that's like the first chapter of the books, and people don't realize that. So if you're wanting to come into the TC world and you're serious about being your own boss and being a business, having the proper education and certifications, licenses, college degrees, if necessary, should be on your to-do list in order to thrive and succeed. Whatever your definition of success is, but That's my ice machine, if you heard that. But I don't think people can just fall into being a TC. I mean, you could be trained in a short amount of time, but once you're in the file, it's a lot different. It's like learning how to drive. You can read all the books, you can pass your written test, but once you actually get behind the wheel, it's a whole different ball game. And it takes practice. It takes effort. It takes time and experience. And I think what happens with a lot of newer TCs now, whether you're younger, seasoned, brand new, whatever the case may be, is I think a lot of they learn all the skills, they learn all of the checklists, they have all the things down. But when it comes to getting business, and if it doesn't happen in the first week, they give up. If it doesn't happen in the first month, they give up. And I tell people who want to be a TC, if you're really serious about transaction coordination, one, you need to look at it from a bigger point of view as a business, not just a TC to make a quick buck, right? So once you get past that, then, why do you want to do this? Why? And the next thing I tell them is, if you're that, you're ready, you're serious, you're committed to this, and commitment is key, and you're willing to be disciplined, like you mentioned earlier, Violet, is are you willing to not get paid for 6 months to a year just to learn your craft? And it's that simple. It's like those three elements, those three factors, those three considerations before you start any business is like, are you willing to do this even when you're not being paid? Or the moments when you're not closing as many transactions? Are you willing to endure that? Build your stamina, build your resilience in that. Because it's those moments and it's those skills and that awareness, that of building that awareness, that gets you through the tougher times. and generally speaking, that's any career. Truly, that's any field of work that you choose to go into. Are you at all worried that at some point that AI may take over some part of your job? I know different industries are afraid of some kind of takeover. Yes and no. Um, I'll start off with why I'm not. So I'm not worried because I'm actively learning about it. I think if you possess the education and the knowledge and just a basic understanding of it, then it seems less daunting, and it's something. The unknown becomes more clear because you're educating yourself on it. And when it comes to transaction coordination, a lot of programs that I'm currently using already implement. A lot of programs I'm currently using to run my TC business already are starting to integrate AI into their systems. And I think it's great. But do I think it's going to replace a transaction coordinator? Not right away. And I hope I'm not a TC. And I don't want to say I hope not, but my goal is to eventually, become a full-time coach, full-time content creator. I have a podcast as well, but my podcast right now is truly a passion project. But there are other things I want to do in life. And I think just educating yourself on the new tools that are starting to be birthed and how it's changing the world actively, I think you can leverage it. You can become the AI expert in real estate, for the people that aren't aware of it. You can become an AI coach. There's ways to leverage new technology in your favor without worrying about it. And I think that's the best solution in anytime something new pops up. Technology is so rapid. I can't even keep up with most of it half of the time. But when it comes to AI, it almost seemed like everyone had the same date of when they were going to launch, like OpenAI and chat, which is Chat GPT. Now I use Canva. Canva has an AI integrated feature. Notion has AI in it. Skyslope has AI integrated in it, and I've been using Skyslope since it first started, over a decade ago. So I look at it like this. So when the internet first, I'm about to be 40 next year. So I have been in a world where I had no internet, and I've had internet. I've saw the budding stages of the internet, and I'm now living in a social media um e-world, if you will. I didn't have this going live and being able to talk to people around the world just because I felt like going live. So I embrace the technology, and going live used to be nerve-wracking for me. So what would I do? I would practice. So but going back to having lived in a world without the internet, and then now living in the world with internet and seeing the evolution of it with AI, um, it's expected for things to go faster. It's expected, whether it's AI. And sadly, people's jobs are going to be lost. But like I said, if you are learning at least the fundamentals of AI right now, I think you can really benefit from it. I write a lot of my talking points that I want to discuss here in videos or on my podcast or when I do content on social media. I actively use AI for that, and it's fascinating how quick it pulls information and it can write a whole script for you. I don't use the scripts verbatim, word for word, but I do use them to give me a general understanding of what I want to talk about. Because sometimes I'm so in the moment that I can't think and be as creative as I want to be. So I have been using AI to outline and script things for me. And then I just add my own spice and flavor to it and remix it. And it's been really helpful. It's been a time saver. But ultimately, I think much like anything else, like the internet, there's going to be dark spots, dark areas of, like there are dark parts of the web that we should be wary of. But as long as we're educating ourselves and our, the youth, we're educating the youth that, it's okay to have restrictions and boundaries on certain things. But I truly believe anything in excess is not good for you. And the technology of artificial intelligence, although it has been around for many years, the fact that it's just now starting to see the light of day, it's still in its infant stages. So things are going to happen, things are going to change, but as long as you're educating yourself on the matter, I wouldn't worry too much about it. And you're being proactive in your business, in your personal care, and your self-care, and getting off of the internet. Just get off of the internet. I don't have to worry about it if I'm not on the internet. It's not going to it's not going to stop me from traveling. It's not going to stop me from talking to my friends. It may change the way I travel. It may change the way I communicate, but it's not going to, I personally am not going to let it take away who I am as a person. And honestly, the less I have to do, the better. As long as I'm getting the job done, AI can have some of those tasks. Truly, truly. But yeah, keep the questions coming. I like this. I like this a lot. I just randomly wanted to come on here and talk, and I was supposed to be updating my website. That's what I came on here for. So I use WordPress, and I need to update my website. How often do you guys update your websites? How often do you check and make sure all your settings are up to date, making sure all of your the content on there is relevant, making sure your prices are up to date? If you do disclose your prices on your website, are you making sure that the messaging is still what you believe in? Your mission, your bio. Is your bio up to date? Did you get new pictures taken? All of that has to be considered. So rather than just updating your website every week, I would schedule it into your calendar. And I read, it was like, I don't know if it was a meme or someone's picture, but anyway, on the internet, it said, if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. And that hit me hard because a lot of this year I did not add to my calendar and I just kind of winged it all. I was just winging it. And I think about, where I want to go with my life and my career and my goals and my personal life, and how I wasn't prioritizing those big dreams and goals. And now we're here in December and a lot of those things did not happen. I realize, okay, yeah, as much as I dread it, the calendar is a vital piece of my success. And it's good because when I am in a state of lull or I don't look at my calendar, I start to wander. I start to veer away from my priorities. I definitely am not productive. And then I fall into this state of mind that is not the best. It's just not mentally, it's not the most encouraging for myself. It's not the most uplifting either. So it's important for me to always know my next steps. It's important for me to always know my next steps. And I wish that for you as well. So you can stay focused and busy and preoccupied in the best way possible. Because I'm not talking about prioritizing just work stuff. I mean, if I don't add that I want to walk at least 2,000 steps a day, and that's a personal goal to at least get 10,000 steps a week. Because keep in mind, the only reason people walk 10,000 steps a day is because of a Fitbit. It was marketing. It doesn't matter if you walk 10,000 steps or 2,000. But in terms of prioritizing that into my life and making sure things get done, like updating my website, it's because I prioritize it and add it to my calendar and being very specific. It's like SMART goals and just really breaking down the bigger goal of eventually, say one of my goals is to run a 5K. And I mean run. I've never ran a 5K. I've walked/jogged one. But if I don't add every step to my calendar, it's not going to happen. It's just not. And that was something I lacked. That was something I lacked, excuse me, this year, was not prioritizing those little steps. I always had the big goal in mind, but I didn't prioritize the little steps that would eventually get me to the finish line. So this year, and I'm not waiting until next year, I'm starting now. I've been actively doing this the last, I'd say, few weeks of being very specific with what goes on my calendar and time blocking and accepting that time blocking works. I was so resistant and against it, but I feel like now it's definitely a big part of again, my success. Okay, let's see. Do you have specific goals related to your business that you really want to accomplish within the first 6 months of the next year? Yes, I do. I want one of my bigger goals, which I think is important to say on here on a public platform, is to really ramp up my coaching business and get it off the ground. I had my first session this past month, the beginning of the month. And it was a paid session, so I'm very grateful for that. And that was kind of the fuel I needed, and just listening to what my people, audience, and target audience, what they need, and building my business around that. But ultimately, I would love to replace TCing with coaching and becoming and also content creation. I would love to hit, let me see, in the first 6 months. I mean, I have so many, but it's just like, which ones do I want to say out loud? Which ones do I not? But ultimately for my business, my focus is coaching. And I realized that coaching doesn't have to mean getting paid at the end of the day. Coaching can look like this. It could look like just going live and allowing a space for people to ask their questions and encouraging them and giving them some direction and a place to just express themselves. and feel comfortable asking questions, because it's not easy to ask for help. It's not easy to ask questions. It's not easy to be vulnerable. But in the first 6 months, I really want to just ramp up. I'm going to be ramping up the my content, the direction of my business to gear more towards coaching. I have a passion for helping people, and I feel like the only way for that to happen is if I do prioritize it. And like I said, that goes back to organizing my time and being very consistent with my calendar and looking at it every day and knowing what my next steps are, because that's something I didn't prioritize in the last 6 months, was actively seeking coaching clients, actively seeking, you know, or learning how to be a better salesperson. And I'm working on that on my own, because I have my own reservations with the idea of being salesy. But it's like we consume and buy so many things every day that I feel like convincing someone to invest in themselves, I can only do so much. The person on the other end has to be ready and open to receiving that type of guidance and direction and help, because I could give all the free sessions, I can give all the discounted sessions, I can give all the expensive thousands of dollars of sessions. But if the person's not ready and willing to do the work, I can't force them. So, thank you for asking, because I think it's important for us to have goals in mind, and for me, I really do see myself transitioning more into coaching in this next year, and taking that a lot more seriously, and not allowing my ego to get in the way, not allowing what people think of me get in the way, not allowing my people pleaser to get in the way. And when I say all those things, I mean, with my ego, not, I think, going back to just waiting for things to happen for me. There's one thing, because I do believe you can manifest, and things will randomly come to you, but it's not sustainable. I feel like I have to build that endurance and those habits in order to get there. And I feel like I let my ego get in the way a lot, and then also looking at TC as like a cozy backup, just because just because it makes me money. But it's like, if I'm all in, if I'm all committed, there is no backup plan. I just have to be all in and radiate that energy, and give off those vibes, and be all in. Do you have any goals that you want to accomplish in the first 6 months? Um, I'm trying to think of what else. I think for my business, mostly coaching, being able to coach. Let me get a little bit more specific. I want to be able to coach at minimum 4 people a month, where we're just consistently meeting on a weekly basis, and I'm helping them in their journey, and just going from there, because that is so new to me. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that feels like. So I'm still building out my packages and still building out services that I'm going to be offering. But again, it comes down to those wanting to be ready. So I just have to make sure I'm attracting those that are willing to do the work, show up, commit, and pay. Because let's keep it real. We got to make money. One of my big goals that I did have this year that I got nowhere near, because again, I wasn't prioritizing, I wasn't organizing my time right, I wasn't doing all the steps, I wasn't embodying that of someone that does this. But one of my goals is to make $30,000 in 1 month. And that's not to say that's all the money I make in a whole year. I want to, like, what does that take? What do I have to do? Where do I have to go? Who do I need to talk to? I don't, what other services do I need to offer? What other products do I need to sell? What does that look like? I've never made $30,000 in 1 month in my entire life. And the reason for 30K, I know it sounds kind of random, but there was 1 year in my business where I only made $30,000. And for some people, $30,000 is a lot. And believe me, I survived. It helped me. Making $30,000 in 1 year helped me to realize and appreciate that I have everything I need. I was still able to travel. I was still able to get my bills paid. Um, I was still able to, work with my coach one-on-one. But there was there was something about making way less and seeing it on a 1099 that fueled me. And I was just like, I'm not happy doing this work. I don't feel the same joy that I felt. And that's showing in me only making $30,000 in this 1 year. It's showing, like, my lack of effort and my unhappiness is showing. And if I continue down this path, it's going to get down to zero. But if I put in the work, I take the courses, I get certified, I seek out the help that I need in order to get there, there's no doubt in my mind that I can't hit that in the first 6 months of 2024. And it takes asking for help. And it's going to take asking, putting myself out there and not being afraid to look silly, or not being afraid to post more than once a day on social media to grow my audience and to grow, coming on here and doing more live sessions and finding a way to monetize this YouTube channel, monetize my podcast. In full transparency, I didn't make any money from YouTube or the podcast this year. Just full transparency. I've met a lot of people, and the payoff was definitely more emotional, spiritual. I've built my community, and to me, that's a part of not just my growth, but accepting that getting paid isn't just monetary, because I now have a community that I've built in a year of doing interviews and talking to people and promoting myself. I see what it takes to build a brand and a community alone. I didn't run any ads on the show, and it reached different countries, and it's great. But just letting go of my ego and not being afraid to look silly online, and showing up consistently, and decreasing or eliminating my people pleaser. And my number one self-saboteur is avoidance. I avoid. So I know I can get there, and it's gonna happen. Stay tuned, follow the journey. And also in the first 6 months of next year, business-wise, which I consider this a business purchase, but I would love to own real estate. Believe it or not, I've worked in real estate for 2 decades next year, and I don't own real estate. It's my truth. So if I can accomplish that, when I accomplish that, I'm holding myself to it, and I've made it public. I would love to have my own place by April 2024, which is my birthday month. So let's see. Let's read what Violet said. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, whatever questions you have, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm here. I have no time limit on how long I want to be here. I have a gallon of water right next to me, so I don't have to get up and leave and go to the kitchen to get water. In fact, I'm going to get some water right now. But let's see. What other questions do you have? Yeah, focusing on yourself and your health is so important. When people ask me about my business, to me, if I want to have a successful business, it all starts with taking care of myself first. Truly, it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with. Excuse me, I'm going to be pouring water. Just my throat. I wasn't planning on talking this much. I was supposed to be updating my website with you all here on live. But this is fun. This is a lot of fun. I love this. So, excuse me. Excuse me. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Focusing on yourself and your health, and really working towards no longer being burnt out. It's been a tough year, but I'm hoping I can get there. Excuse me, I drink water too fast. Yeah, and when you say focusing on yourself, what does that look like? In what ways do you want to focus on yourself? One thing I learned this year is that just because I wasn't doing it doesn't mean I have to always shoot for the marathon. I was going from the couch to a marathon, figuratively, with everything I was doing this past year. And I was basically setting myself up for disappointment. So when it came down to it, I was like, let me just break up my life into different categories, right? There's me, mind, body, and soul. So what does that look like? There's let me pull it up. Let me just so it's easier for me to talk about. But ultimately, what is my year? What do I want it to look like? How do I want to navigate this? What are the areas of my life that I really want to work on and focus on for the next 365 days? Or even for the next 30 days, but I need to get it in motion. So I broke it up pretty much into 7 categories. First one being mental, emotional, spiritual health. So that's all just up here, in here. How do I want to show up? And what does that look like? And that's built for me. It included on a daily, including, God, faith, journaling, reading, you know, um, therapy, coaching, not just offering the services, but getting therapy. I'm not a therapist, but I am a coach. But for my own personal, mental, emotional, and spiritual health, I want to go back to regular therapy, and it's expensive. So that wasn't something I was able to maintain this year, but the little therapy that I did have was impactful. Um, and having consistent access to my coach. And so that was like the first category, so getting specific. And that's why I do have a specific number with, how much I want to make in 1 month. I mean, I'm open to making that every month. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like we got to start somewhere. And then the next category was, physical fitness, nutritional health. So that's physically me, my body. How do I, what is it I want to focus on? Because health is very broad. Do you want to focus on your hair health? Do you want to focus on your vision health? Do you want to focus on your heart health? Or is it the whole body? And then how are you going to work on the whole body? But if there are certain parts of your body that you want to focus on for the majority, that will, you'll be more likely to accomplish those goals. And the next category was personal, travel, relationships, money, then business. What are my revenue goals? What are the parts of my business I really want to focus on? How much do I want to make at the end of the year? Next category is real estate, then hobbies, and then education. So that's how I broke it up. And then I have, little big goals underneath that. And then my calendar is where I'm essentially going to break up all of these big goals into smaller tasks in order to achieve them by whatever date I've set for them to occur. And life is going to life. Your timeline is going to get thrown off, and that's okay. And that's where the internal work of, okay, well, when things don't go my way, what else can we do? What are the opportunities from this? What else can I learn from this? What else can I do? Who can I call? Who can I text? What books do I need to read? What education courses do I need to take? It's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. But yeah, this was fun. I think I'm going to wrap up this live session almost at an hour. I did not expect this to happen, but overall, to summarize what we talked about, thank you, Violet, for all of your questions and your comments and your encouragement. I really appreciate it. Overall, it comes down to prioritizing what really matters to you and who really matters to you. Because aside from business, if we want to show up as good human beings, better human beings, more harmonious, balanced, well-rounded people, we have to have community. We have to make time for our people, yourself included. Having me time, having personal time is so vital to our mental health and our mental wellness. So constantly be feeding and feeding yourself, watering yourself, showing up, refilling your own cup, much like I filled up my cup of water here. Do the same thing for yourself, when you can and as often as you can. And really, really have an organized calendar. I look at my calendar every single day, but I update it every month, I would say, because I take notes of what worked, what didn't work, and then I adjust it accordingly. I look at where am I overstretching myself? Where am I devoting too much time? And I'm gonna do a lot more self audits this year as well, at least quarterly. Monthly is good for me. Like every 4 to 6 weeks is a good time frame for me, because every 6 weeks I feel myself getting antsy and wanting to start a whole new career. And I'm working on doing less of that in 2024. That's another, I guess you could say, business or personal goal. But ultimately, sticking to what I'm good at and then allowing whatever is meant for me to just be. And that requires me committing, showing up, advocating for myself, putting my ego to the side, being disciplined, having the courage and confidence to move forward, ask for help, be vulnerable, emote, feel my feelings, have goals, prioritize those goals, prioritize people that are important to you, and prioritize fun stuff. Oh, I didn't even talk about the fun stuff. Not to say work isn't fun, because I am very grateful and blessed that I get to do this on a daily basis, whether it makes me money or not. I will fight and claw to keep this lifestyle. But I know God has bigger things out there for me. So I will continue to just be faithful and be a vessel to help those that are in need, whether it's one person or a million of you. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to offer as much guidance and education and value to you as I can, because that's what's truly important. And stay tuned for more vlogs that I have coming up. It would mean the world to me if you subscribed, whether you're watching the replay of this or you were here live. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, because the more people that know about the brand, the closer I get to meeting Beyonce. I mean that. But I'm so grateful. This whole year has been one of my toughest mentally and emotionally, truly. And that's because I unlocked a lot of things that were just being suppressed and not said out loud. And that was through the work and doing the therapy and coaching and journaling and praying and getting back to prayer. I can do a whole separate video on that, but you can also go to my personal channel if you want to know the name of that. Just send me a DM. I'll let you know. But my faith journey and learning to trust God, to trust the process, knowing that this is God's plan, not mine. And I don't have to worry. I just don't. Even when things get really, really bad, I'm learning to just surrender and not worry and be strong in my faith. And that's as simple and as clean and as straightforward as I'm keeping it. I have a small circle of people that I keep in my life that I love, that I do my best to maintain those relationships. I have a budding community of real estate professionals, women, creatives that I enjoy talking to, meeting, interviewing. And I have big goals and dreams, and I want to see through. And I want you guys to all be on that journey with me. So I thank you in advance. I thank you currently. I thank you presently. I'm so grateful. This has been fun. Let's talk soon. Podcast, new episodes coming back next year. But go to transactioncare.com to learn more and hit that subscribe button. My name is Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily. Like what? The flower, because we are learning and growing together. Thank you for joining me on this live today. That was a lot of fun. I did not expect people to be here. But look that's me doubting God. Have faith, though. Have faith. All right, you guys, have fun. Happy holidays. Love.